gentlemen on the dais, Mr. Saidi, Mr. Jyoti, Mr. Rawat, Mr. Sinha, it's our pleasure to be here. We are, of course, a junior partner in this. We are in awe about the experience here in the room, the experience and knowledge here on the panel. It's our pleasure as the UN Development Program to have been a partner in this and working with the Election Commission now for a couple of years here in India. To look at all of you here in the room is for us, of course, a great pleasure to bring you together to have this experience, to be able to help to offer a platform for exchange is for us great satisfaction. And we're really looking forward to having a couple of days where you will hopefully all use this platform for exchange and really trying to tackle out what the main issues are when it comes to voter participation and voter education. So for us to open to be here, to see you all participating in this conference is a glimpse of hope also. We've been privileged, as I said, to be a long partner working with the Election Commission of India in the area of democratic election management, predominantly, of course, through helping in the promotion of the exchange of knowledge, some capacity building in the wider field of electoral management. Very much also helping in the design of learning institutions, South-South and South-South exchanges. And I was saying earlier to the Commissioner, there's always a lot of interest in the Indian example. There's always the need to want to learn, to see how it's done in a country that has been, organizing electoral processes and institutions in such a magnitude that it's very unique, but it also offers numerous good examples that I think many of us can learn from. As a global institution, of course, UNDP is annually supporting about 40 to 50 electoral projects on the ground in many of the countries you're representing here. We engage with member states very often in the periods in between elections on capacity building, on supporting the electoral management bodies, as you know. And at the local levels, it's the UNDP country offices that try support, that try to stay in touch, and that try to really build capacities in the long run. UNDP, of course, recognizes that a free, fair, and inclusive election process is at the core of every democracy and at the core of building up governance, democratic governance structures. UNDP provides, therefore, support not only during the electoral processes, but also in the wider range of local elections, referendums. The support covers the multiple phases of this electoral cycle, ranging from constitutional and legal reform support, electoral institutional reform, some areas of dispute resolutions that's very predominant in post-conflict countries, civic and voter education, which of course is the theme of this getting together, voter registration, and down to the simple procurement of balloting, papers, boxes, the nitty-gritty of the operationalizing the voting processes in a country. In this, we are supporting on the ground a lot of the key players, the electoral management bodies, of course, but also, and that's very important to acknowledge, the media, the civil society, youth organizations, all those organizations that are on the other side of the spectrum and that have a very important role to play in helping to get the vote out, helping to prepare the electorate, helping to prepare the voters for their roles and responsibilities. As I said, we feel very privileged to have been a partner of the Election Commission for many years now, because we know that there's a lot of interest in the way they operate, what they've achieved in this country, and because of the high degree of respect they command internationally and nationally. So for us to be able to help create such a platform to bring everyone together is not only pleasure, but also goes back to the core mandate of what we at UNDP want to work on. As we know, in every election, of course, voter and civic education are necessary to ensure that all constituents, men, women, young, new voters are aware and know their responsibilities, know their roles, know their rights. So it's really a key element in this process that, you know, we feel sometimes if we look globally at the way elections are prepared, the processes are driven, it doesn't get enough attention. Voter and civic education is most critical, as we all know, in post-conflict countries where political situations sometimes are very volatile, but where they also have an unprecedented impact on the country's future. So in this environment, of course, the government, and in particular the national election bodies, are primarily responsible for voter education. However, we have to acknowledge and work our way around and work towards the fact that increasingly media, civil society, youth organizations have a very important role to play and are playing that. In many post-conflict countries, in fact, we can see that the peace settlements very often establish new forms of government and new types of electoral processes. They are very often quite complex. For voters, it's not always clear to understand the roles, to see through that. So in this, in fact, the civic education, the voter education becomes key and core to bring the electorate to participate in those processes. Both civic education and voter education, of course, encourage the voter to participate, encourage the citizen to become an active voter, step up to the plate, take a role in the responsibility. But what we've unfortunately seen is that in many of the processes around the globe, as I was saying earlier, the bulk of the financing, the bulk of the preparation very often is linked to the organization, to the logistic of the electoral processes. And not that much money, not that much time, not enough is spent on the element of civic education, of voter education. However, of course, experience shows that even greater awareness does not always get translated into greater participation. And if we ask ourselves how to change this, this is, of course, through voter education. Telling people, getting the message out there, how to step up, how to participate, and what the roles are. Voters' education is not only the correct, but the most appropriate way to improve participation in a democracy. Realizing this, in fact, we have seen that several countries have made voters' education, in fact, a part of their constitutional mandate, and that's the right step and a very important step to take. In this context, and on this note I want to close it, it's just fantastic to see participants from 25 countries here that we will hope you will use this platform today, not only for learning, but also for exchange and highlighting how these systems, how the processes can be improved, and how we can also be used, the UN, international organizations, but also civil society, to push this forward, to get the votes out there. And frankly, sometimes if you take a global perspective that we tend to have at the UN, you know, it's disheartening to see some countries where people fight for their right to vote, and other countries where people don't go and vote, where they don't use this right that was so hard earned in many other countries. So for us, this is at the core of creating stronger democratic processes and stronger nations. So we're really looking forward to a tremendous exchange with the knowledge in the room, all the practical experiences that you're bringing. We're trying to capture as much and feed it back into what we then call the dissemination of knowledge, and really bring it out there as the best examples that we can find and we listen to. Very much looking forward to listening to you, and thank you so much for coming here and joining us for this event. Thank you.